Welcome back to Real Conversations with Nora for our 35th episode. And our topic of discussion this week is From Homeless to Success. Joining me today is my special guest, Reenita Shepherd. Reenita, thank you so much for joining us today. And I really want to talk a little bit before we get into it, is like how we met. I can remember being on the computer, and this I think it was like in 2013. It was in 2013. And I was on my computer looking for something else, but it was truly God, because the story flashed across my computer, and it was about Chelsea. And it was talking about you guys being homeless and how she would have to put the flashlight over her book so she could read them. And I was so moved by the story. I mean, the story just grabbed and twisted my heart. I started calling people and campaigning people to raise money to help you guys, and, to give her some money once she was going to school and so forth. And what really, really, really impressed me was your determination as a mother and your determination for your children. And I was so excited when you called me and told me that she had gotten a full scholarship to Spelman, and now she's at Yale in medical school, right?
Yes,
Am I
ma'am.
right? And then Chelsea, is it Chelsea? Chelsea
Yeah.
works in the criminal justice system. And I mean, and then you have your son who's now 14. Is he now 14?
Nicholas is about to be 13, and I have
He's
Kaylee,
about to be,
and Kaylee, she's about to be 12.
wow, 12 and 13. And they were little when I first met you. So first of all, I just want to say how much respect I have for you, and how much I just honor your courage, your tenacity, your ability not to give up and to fight the good fight and stay in the race. So thank you so much for being our guest on the show today. I so appreciate it. But I'd like for you to share with our audience how you were able to keep your head above water when it seemed like you were drowning during that time of your life.
Well, I tried to surround myself with people that could help me to guide me, and God sent those angels.
Mm,
The shelter I lived with, the shelter that we lived at, the director, she was very engaging. While I was looking for work, she was able to help me by watching my kids and look out for them. Um, we were in Clayton County at the time, and
mhm,
liaison for Clayton County, which is Miss Sonia Davis. She made
mhm.
sure that they got bus service to back and forth to school.
Wow.
I partnered with the teachers to help me get them back and forth to, Chalisa was in the dual enrollment program.
Mhm.
Miss Davis had it set up so that they would pay for transportation for her to get back and forth to Clayton State. Uh,
Wow.
Her swim teacher, the band teacher, would bring her back, to me after, swim classes and band and PE and all different things that they engaged in while they were at school. So
Mm,
it was the community that really helped me to, I reached out, and they said a closed mouth never gets fed. You never
right,
run into, all you have to do is just ask for help when you need it.
right. And the Bible says you have not because
You ask not. That's right.
you have to ask. You have to ask. So share with us how you got your children through being homeless. I mean, what, because mentally that totally could have affected them, but it seemed like you were so determined to keep them totally focused during that time.
We had a lot of conversations, and they knew that this was only temporary. You know,
Mm,
we had a plan. And that plan was, okay, we're going to be here maybe 30 to 60 days. The shelter will help you pay your deposits to get to, whatever you're trying to do.
mhm,
So once, we got into an apartment, that was, they could be more stable.
mhm.
That's how that went. But it was a lot
Good.
of conversations and reminding them that, okay, this is what I did today. I would talk to them when they were finished school. She, Chelsea, the oldest, she had a part-time job at a hotel, so she
Mhm,
would work after school, and that would be her money she needed to pay for their phone bills, to buy
mhm,
incidentals they needed at school. And I
mhm.
would talk to them every day about how my day was, what I accomplished, and what I was planning on doing.
Mhm. So you kept them engaged in the conversation as a family, to see the possibilities and where you were going and not your circumstances where you were, it sounds like.
Right, I did.
Wow, that is so awesome. So let's talk about some of the possible solutions that you feel since you've been through that. What do you think that the government or the state could do? Are the possible solutions for people who are homeless? What is there for them?
The main thing is resources. Okay, if you give them a place to stay, don't pay their rent for a month. Set them up for at least 6 months to a year, but
Mm-hmm.
also give them the support.
Mm-hmm.
They need to go back to school. They need to get a high paying job. If they need
Mm-hmm.
help with childcare, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just don't give them a place to live. You need to be a support system to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So you felt like they really that they you feel like they really need that support system. That's most important. It's not just, giving them a place to stay, but a place to stay and with some systems in place to help support them to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve.
exactly. You have to put
Mhm.
because everybody's situation is different. Sometimes it's hard to place. Uh, when you have a family and a 12-year-old boy or older, it's hard to find a shelter space for them. If
Wow.
you're a woman with younger kids, it's easier. So it's your
Mhm.
circumstances. But every family needs something different, and
Right.
the resources should be put in place to help. You see what these
Right.
people. We have a lot of people that have mental health problems, and
Yes.
I think it's our responsibility as a people, to engage in what Martin Luther King called a beloved community. Our purpose
Mhm.
living and serving God. And so if
Right.
we're serving God, then we're supposed to love each other. So,
Right.
I think that we should, as a people, help each other.
Mhm.
When we see others going through these type of situations, you know,
Mhm.
it should be it can't be something temporary.
Yeah.
You need more than a month to get on your feet. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It takes
It's
time.
been even worse since COVID. So many people been laid off. And I'm in Clayton County. None of our kids has been able to go hybrid or go back to school. So a lot of people's employment is affected because you got younger kids at home. You got to make sure they're online virtually, and it's really been stressful.
Mhm.
It's been a lot. you know,
Right.
yeah. It's a
Right. So let's talk about what is causing the rise in homelessness.
right now. Of course, is the lack of resources. Of course,
Mhm.
along with COVID.
Mhm.
I mean, because you can't really live off unemployment.
Right.
That's not enough to sustain. That's if
Right.
you get it, you
Right.
can sustain with that.
Right, right. And let's talk about the success of your children after fighting this demon called homelessness. I mean, your children were like in the ring. They were, just they were amazing. They're amazing to me, and I always talk about them. So let's talk about the success of your children and what you did again that kept them beside talking to them about. I mean, look at Chelsea as she got accepted to um, Spelman, a full scholarship to Spelman, there is something that even though she had that tenacity and that drive, but that came from you, that came from somewhere. So can you talk a little bit about that with your children? Because now you have two younger children, but you also have two older children.
Right. Well, when I was no, I grew up in the foster care system first.
Mm,
It's my experience and a lot of things I didn't have. I wasn't taught.
mm-hmm,
And when I had my own children, I wanted them to be with me. I wanted to make sure they were never abused or hurt, and I wanted to teach them things.
mm-hmm,
So I started when they were younger, when they was 3 and 4. When they started talking, I read to them, and I taught my own children how to read.
mm,
And my goal was for them to be successful. And my big thing was I wanted them to go to college and have secondary education with debt free. I wanted them to go to school on full scholarships. I've said that since the moment they started school. You know,
mm-hmm.
education should be free. Secondary education, college should just be free.
Yes.
And so we had those talks. They understood. Shalisa, when she started the dual enrollment program, that's something she wanted to do. I didn't go to her. She came to me and said, "Mom, this is something I want to do." And
Right.
we was in the middle of being homeless, going through this, but this is something
Right.
I want to do. So I still let her do it, but I had to
Mm-hmm.
find the support to help me, to help her to get to what she
Right.
needs, you know.
Right.
So, you know,
Right.
some people are embarrassed or ashamed to ask for help. You don't know. I didn't know that there were resources available until I sought these, you know, the resources out that I did.
Mhm. And I guess too, you really won't know these resources or even think about these resources until you personally are in that situation yourself. A person is in that situation themselves and have to now, seek out those resources and find out the things that are available to them. And that brings me to our next one. After personally being homeless, what are you doing to create awareness about people being homeless and things that they can do since you've already gone through it? I believe that I heard something and recently that we never go through anything for ourselves. It's always for somebody else. God blesses us to be a blessing, but whatever He allows us to go through, because we know He allows us to go through. And I think about you, and sometimes I even think about myself. I said, God, you must really think we are super bad women because you're allowing us to go through this. So Him allowing you to go through this, what have you done or created about the awareness of that?
But what I do now is, Miss Janet Foster, she was the director of the shelter that we lived in.
Mm-hmm.
She became ill and she wanted to do something different. She had no family. So it
Mm.
took me about 3 years to get her to move in with me. And she now lives with me to help me raise my younger two. She was there with me to help me with the older two. So she
Mm-hmm.
lives with me now. She had no kids of her own. And I
Wow.
foster care. So I take in foster children. I've been taking in foster children for about the past 8 years.
Wow.
Experiences are with the teenagers. I like to teach them independent living skills. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many resources out there for foster children, and my goal is to make sure they get all the services that they can from the state
Mm-hmm.
to prevent them from becoming homeless. Because
Right.
foster children end up being homeless. So
Right.
how God has touched my life for me to try to help others is to
Mm-hmm.
mentor them. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, ma'am.
Well, I read something the other day. It says the average life expectancy of a homeless person is 50 years, and it says 2.39% of homeless persons are African American. It says that it says 39.8% rather, and it says 61% homeless persons are men and boys, 20% of homeless persons are kids, and 42% of homeless children or of the street rather identified as homeless children. And then it says something about in New York has the fifth of all U.S. shelter homelessness centers. And it's also said that homeless problem rather is on the downward trend. But then we are, and these statistics are probably pretty old. Um, well, not up to date. I won't say old, but probably not up to date. But it said the permanent housing intervention has grown 450% in the past 5 years. But we weren't in the middle of a pandemic as we are now. And people are finding themselves not able to pay rent or do what it is that they need to do to survive to take care of their family. So they're finding themselves in these situations. And the very fact that you have gone through it and are willing to help children, young adults, old, mature people, seasoned people, I want to call us, to find ways to wrap themselves around this because you've already walked in those shoes. I just think it's just so, amazing. What's your thought about that?
Well, I definitely would not say it's a downward. It has increased. The homelessness has increased.
Hmm.
I
That's
think
what you're saying.
right now with the foster care piece of it, with the schools being closed, a lot of people are not able to say report the abuse that's going on.
Hmm.
Homelessness, a lot of people now living from paycheck for paycheck.
Right.
Be us one day out, and what's going on with the economy, with the unemployment, with losing
Hmm.
jobs. So I
Hmm.
definitely would disagree and know that we'll be in a crisis situation this year with people being displaced.
Mm.
Funding should be set aside to help homeless people and to educate people on the definition of knowing what being a homeless person is and
Hmm.
in a veto act. You,
Hmm.
you need to be educated we don't need to look down on people because the next homeless person, is not like somebody on the street begging for money.
Right.
People living from check to check, and even if you're living with a family member, if you don't have your own home, you're still home if you're living with somebody. But
That's true.
that's not permanent housing. Living with someone
Right.
else.
That's temporary.
Right, and the economy, a lot of businesses closed. People are out of
Mhm.
job, so the numbers are maybe triple the numbers that you gave with the
Mhm.
rise being up. You know,
Right.
due to the fact of the COVID-19.
Do
And so
you Are you a part of any communities or groups that are working with, senators or laws or things like of that nature to help with people who are homeless and to provide resources, financial resources, money, you know,
yes,
grants and programs like that of that sort of thing?
I am. I'm affiliated and volunteer with the homeless department at Clayton County Public School Systems, and
Hmm.
I'm also a member of Tucker First United Methodist Church. I
Mm,
does a lot of mission work when it comes to homeless people. Uh,
hmm.
we go to the hotels in the area and help those, to feed the children and see what resources those families may need.
Praise
I
God.
of ministries where we help with, support financially, foster care agencies. We support drug rehab programs. We do have
Mm,
humanity. So I'm involved with a host of activities that
right.
um, help homeless people.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, Reenita, I want to thank you for being our special guest on Real Conversations with Nora. Are there any last minute comments that you would like to share with the audience before you leave today?
But I would just like to say I am just humbled, and I just thank God for all the people that He put in my place to help me raising my kids. So I want just let everybody know that don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right.
I don't have no biological family here, but the community has been my resources. They're the
Wow.
ones that helped me raise my children.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Well, once again, I want to thank you for your insight on today's topic and to my Real Conversation with Nora audience. Please follow us on social media on Instagram at BWOTMFG and on Facebook at Business Women on the Move for God. Visit our website at BWOTMFG.com and sign up for our new programs. And make sure you stop by a retail store where you'll find lots of great items for you, your family, and friends. And also ask your friends to watch the show each week and share with others. And I look forward to seeing you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Real Conversations with Nora. God bless you and have a prosperous week. Love you.